Good morning, everyone, distinguished Lenel Silks, esteemed seniors and colleagues on this call. I hope you can hear me.
Loud and clear. Good morning, ma'am.
Good morning, everyone, and you're
Loud and
welcome.
clear. Good morning, ma'am.
Morning.
Thank you so much. Please, I will encourage everyone to mute. All right, thank you again. You are welcome to today's webinar, and we are going right into it because I know that everyone is busy and time is of essence. I acknowledge everyone that have taken their time to be part of this webinar. You are so welcome. We know that it's a timely discussion, and I acknowledge you all for being part of this mental health and well-being for legal practitioners. So you're welcome again. As we know, it's a webinar. If you have any question, just for a bit of housekeeping, kindly post it on the platform. Any information, reiterating what the speaker will say, kindly post it on the platform. And I acknowledge all the seniors on the platform and all the members of NBA Ikeja branch, particularly our able chairman, Mr. Adeniyi Quadri. You are so welcome. Thank you all for joining. So right now I'll be calling on Barrister Bukumi to lead us in the NBA opening prayer. Thank you.
Hello, good morning. Hello, good morning. Hello, can you hear me? Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. Please, I'll be taking our NBA prayers right away. Almighty God, our Creator, we pray you to be with us in all our deliberations and to direct our endeavors so that we shall continue in all humility to glorify thy name and do that which is right and just for our profession, its members, our fellow men, and our countrymen. Amen.
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 Thank you so
Amen.
much.
Amen.
All right, again, my name is Folakemi Jegede, and I am the Welfare Secretary of NBA Ikeja branch. And today we are kickstarting this webinar and titled The Mental Health and Wellbeing in Law. I appreciate distinguished Lenel Silks here present and esteemed seniors and respectable colleagues that have taken your time to be part of this discussion. And I also acknowledge the presence of our speaker present. I especially acknowledge the presence of the executive team of this great branch, ably led by our chairman, Mr. Adeniyi Quadri. I am the present welfare secretary and I'm delighted to welcome you all alongside my able welfare committee that have put this together. I appreciate you all for your effort and your work thus far. The important and timely webinar that we are doing today titled Mental Health and Well-being in Law. It is an honor to stand before a gathering of colleagues and professionals who understand that not only the demands of our noble profession, but also the silent weight many of us carry while wearing the robe of responsibilities, whether in the courtroom or in your office. The legal profession by its nature is built on precision, pressure, and performance. We are trained to advocate, to fight, to think, to solve issues without pause. But what we are not always taught is how to feel, or most importantly, how to heal. Mental health challenges among the legal professional is getting so rampant, and it is real, and unfortunately, it is often hidden behind our cloak of resilience that we can do it all. Anxiety, burnout, isolation, and emotional fatigue have become a quiet companion to us in our law offices and in our day-to-day life. We've mistaken this suffering of silence for strength. Hence this discussion that we are having today. This webinar is our small but bold step towards changing that narrative. We are here today to learn, to unlearn, and to create a space where wellness is not just a whisper, but a conversation as we are having it today. We are prioritizing our health. Our emotional and psychological health is not seen as a weakness, but to us today is as wisdom. We are honored to have our distinguished speaker, a clinical psychologist in our midst this morning, an experienced one at that, and I believe that we are going to learn a lot. She will guide us through this journey, sharing not just the knowledge, but tools that can help us as legal practitioners to thrive as also as human beings. Let this event not just be a webinar for us, but a shift, a reminder that taking care of our minds is not a luxury, it is a responsibility. And that responsibility lies in each and every one of us on this platform. Thank you once again for being here. I remain your welfare secretary, Folakemi Jegede. And let's go right into it, as I'll be calling on the chairman of NBA Ikeja branch in the person of Mr. Adeniyi Quadri for his keynote speech. Thank you very much. You are welcome, sir.
Good morning, distinguished speaker, senior advocates, learned colleagues, and esteemed participants. I'm very elated to appear before you today as we engage on this critical topic that is essential for our mental health and self-health. As legal professionals, we strive for excellence in our work, often pushing ourselves to achieve perfection. However, in our pursuit of success, we often neglect our most valuable importance of prioritizing mental health in the legal profession. We all know that the legal profession can be demanding. Long hours, high stakes, and intense pressure can take a toll on our mental health. Many of us have experienced stress, anxiety, or burnout at some point in our careers. It's time to acknowledge that mental health is just as important as physical health. Mental health issues can affect anyone, regardless of their position or experience. They can impact our relationships, our work performance, and overall quality of life. If left unaddressed, mental health issues can lead to burnout, decreased productivity, and even more severe health consequences. It is essential that we create a culture where our mental health is openly discussed and supported. We need to break the stigma surrounding mental health issues and encourage those who are struggling to seek help. By doing so, we can build a more supportive and understanding legal community. As I conclude, I want to stress that mental health and well-being are crucial to our success as legal professionals. By prioritizing this, we can build a more resilient, productive, and compassionate legal community. Let's work together to create a culture that supports mental health and well-being. I want to express my profound appreciation to members of this very strategic committee of the NBA Ikeja branch, led by the indefatigable Mrs. Folakemi Jegede. Your committee is charting new frontiers and navigating uncharted terrains. Kudos to you guys. I encourage all members of the Ikeja branch here present and others to listen and take advantage of the wealth of knowledge it offers. Let us work together to build a more conducive mental health and self-health environment for ourselves, our families, and our members. I look forward to an engaging and enlightening session. Thank you all.
Thank you so much, our able chairman, and thank you for being a good leader. You allow us to fly. We appreciate you, sir.
Okay, that's 2, 2, 2, 2, 3.
So again, we are going right into it. Please, for us to enjoy this webinar, we need everyone to mute their mics. It is very important from our hand and also for clarity of our recordings. So we are going right into it, and we have our doctor, our guest speaker in the building, and we are so glad to have you, ma. So our guest speaker is a clinical psychologist, experienced, and we are looking forward to what she has for us because we know that she's going to do justice to the theme of today. But before she comes in, we are going to be reading his bio, and I invite Barrister Dolapo to take the lead.
Good morning, everyone. Standing on existing protocols.
Yes. Please speak up.
Good morning, everyone. Am I audible now?
Yes, please.
I'll be going into the profile of our invited guest in the person of Dr. Akintoye Oluwakemi Ayojide. She's a clinical psychologist who is passionate about self-development, training, and individual wellness. She believes that the understanding of the holistic man can bring about the desired transformation in the family, workplace, society, and the world at large. A healthy individual for her is a healthy society. She had her educational foundation in nursing from Ekwa School of Nursing, Egbe, Kogi State, and midwifery from Obafemi Awolowo University Teaching Hospital, Ilesha, Osun State. She then proceeded to the University of Nigeria, Nsukka, and Enugu State to study psychology, and later to University of Lagos for a master's degree in clinical psychology. She obtained her PhD at the Covenant University, Ota, Ogun State. Our work experience ranges with people going through various forms of psychological issues, substance addiction, work-life balance, emotional issues, marital distress, trauma-related cases, sexual abuse, etc. Our clinical practice has made her to become very proficient in this field of psychology. She is a chief clinical psychologist with Federal Neuropsychiatric Hospital, Yaba, with over 16 years experience. She has been a part of both the national and the state psychological support team for Dana air crash, Itafaji building collapse, COVID-19 support team, and lots more. She works as a trauma consultant to Pathfinder Justice Initiative, Benin, helping ladies who had been sexually trafficked. She works with Grey Insights Limited as their EAP expert, providing psychological support and training in the workplace. She handles organization training for Hammersmith Consults. She's a member of the Nigerian Association of Clinical Psychologists, a member of the Nigerian Association of Psychology, a member of the Employee Assistance Professional, ISSUP, and a member of the Association of Positive Psychologists. She is married with children. Please welcome our guest, Dr. Akintoye Oluwakemi Ayojide. Thank you.
Thank you so
And
very
I'm
much.
grateful for the NBA Ikeja branch for this opportunity.
Okay, can I go ahead, please? All right.
Thank you so much. Hold on, Doc. Let me just highlight you. I was trying to look for you again on the.
I think I'm bearing your name.
Yes, so please, you just rename it.
Okay, okay. Since there is a Kemi there, I can accept it.
It's okay. You're welcome, Doc. So happy to have you here.
I'm glad to be here too. All right. Good day, everyone. It's a privilege to be part of this group today. One of the things I love about lawyers is when they say learned colleagues, learned colleagues. It's usually very exciting when people are referred to that, and it's also I think it's not just beyond the role. It's a privilege. It's a responsibility to be at that end of affair where you are able to carry the responsibility of helping people to either find peace, find justice, and to be able to do a lot of things. But we also know that with that comes a whole lot of responsibilities. And like the chairman had said, and also like Madam Folake had also said earlier, the challenge in this profession is huge. It's not just the reality of what we have to deal with, the reality of the things and the responsibility is quite enormous in terms of the work pressure and all the things like that. And that's why I'm quite appreciative that we're having this conversation today, because not so many people open up their spaces for mental health talk. People, especially in this part of the world, people believe that they have the tenacity, they have the capability to deal with it. And we are so fond of masking our feelings. We are fond of masking our emotions. When Madam Falake earlier was talking, doing our opening remark, she said we are taught to help people, but we are not taught how to be able to heal, deal with the emotional pain and the trauma that comes from it. Some of us, sometimes we are invested emotionally in some of the cases that we have to handle. It becomes a passion for us, not just work again. And when certain things doesn't go the way we want to, or justice isn't gotten the way we would have wanted it to, it takes a huge toll on us psychologically. So there is a build up in the mind. And if it is not properly addressed, then it can lead to a whole lot of things. So the constant struggle to find a balance in an ever-changing world is huge. And if you look at our world today, the dynamics have changed. Now, beyond the profession, beyond what it is that we are doing at the moment, is the fact that some of us too have so many responsibilities in terms of family demands and other things like that. Now, adding that to the profession, that makes it very, very huge for us, to be able to deal with, to be able to handle, and that could also now escalate, to difficulties and different challenges with us. So our well-being oftentimes is not dependent on what we are doing, but it's dependent on the influences that we make from some of the challenges, some of the difficulties, some of the situations that we have to go through. Please let me say this again. The emotional realities or the resultant effect of whatever it is that we are going through as individuals, as professionals, comes more from the interpretation of what it is that we draw from our experiences. So it's the inference that you draw that makes your realities. Is the inference that you draw that becomes home to become the emotional pain, the emotional burden, or not even the peace and the joy that we have from all of these things. So our realities and well we are able to handle them is dependent on our perception about what is going on and how we are able to navigate. So the first thing first, in terms of looking at our topic today, which is mental health and well-being in law, addressing the importance of mental health for lawyers and strategies for maintaining work-life balance in a demanding profession has to do, first of all, with your perception of your reality and acceptance of that reality, which we will talk more about when we're talking about the strategies. Now, when we're talking about mental health, what exactly are we talking about? If we're talking about mental health, what is it? According to the World Health Organization, they had come up to look at it and say, oh, the World Health, mental health is a state of well-being in which the individual can realize their abilities. Now, we believe that everyone has potentials, everyone has capability, everyone has strength, that they can draw from. And the moment an individual becomes self-aware, to the extent by which they can begin to realize their abilities, then they are able to function as much as they should function. So it's about, first of all, an individual understanding who they are. Who am I? The question of who am I goes beyond the profession. The question of who am I is intended in the quality of your being as an individual, being aware of what makes you unique, being aware of your weaknesses. Now, weaknesses aren't bad. Weaknesses aren't like they are the negative. No, it just means that you do not have a full potential in that domain. So you understand who you are and how you are able to navigate life, because the awareness of self also brings to the fore how well you're able to navigate life and deal with life's challenges. Now, it's also about how to cope with normal life stresses. Now, the operative word here is normal. For some people, they are able to navigate going to work, doing the normal caseload. But for some, it's even more, it's difficult for them to be able to handle that, especially now when they are now pressured and then a whole lot of things now come to place with them. Again, it's also about how to deal with or how to work productively and also how to now contribute meaningfully to the community. And with all that we are doing now as professionals, as lawyers, we're able to come to terms to say, oh, we have been able to realize our potential. I have the ability to be able to defend people, talk, and other things like that, which draws out your good qualities. Now, you're also being able to work in a stressful environment. Yes, you're also able to work productively and also make meaningful contributions. But in tandem with that is the fact that it's placing a huge demand on us as individual, and this demand oftentimes affects how well we're able to put the very best of our psychological health even at play. Now, this is bringing us to the next slide. We're talking about the realities. Now, we're talking about the realities. We're talking about the fact that the legal profession is often associated with high-stakes situation, making it one of the most stressful career paths. Lawyers must handle immense pressure ranging from high workload to emotionally charged situation. And one of the primary sources of stress for lawyer is the long working hours. Many firms, many organizations will expect them to have billable hours, to billable hours before they're able to either mount up to a certain level or go up to a certain cadre and other things like that. And this can lead up to burnout if not properly managed. Another one is the weight of responsibilities. They are responsible for their client's livelihood, the freedom, the significant financial outcome, and quite a whole lot of things. And the truth is, a mistake in a case could have their consequences now, which could place tremendous pressure on the professional themselves to now perform flawlessly. You want to be sure that there is nothing missing. You have done your best, as in you have crossed your T and dotted your I, and make sure that everything is going very well. This also can create a perpetual state of anxiety for the individual. Now, again, oftentimes, because of the adversary nature of the profession, sometimes it could also be emotionally draining, having to have heated conversation, sometimes facing rejection, having to deal with clients and opposing counsel and other things like that. And all of these oftentimes contributes to the health of the individual. Now, unpredictability of the case, it's also another major thing like that. Strict deadline, having to work even when you do not have the best of time. Judges are saying, oh, this is what's the time you should do, and other things like that. And all of this could take a very huge toll on our emotional health. Now, what are the implications of this reality? We had mentioned some of them earlier. Part of them has to do with burnout. Now, what happens to us as human is that there are hormones and chemicals in our system that helps us to be able to cope with certain situations. It helps us to be able to deal with life. Now, the epinephrine hormone is one very good hormone that comes to the fore when an individual needs to perform excellently in a high demanding situation. The epinephrine hormone comes to the fore. It helps you to go on the long hours. It helps you to be able to stretch yourself beyond the normal limits. It keeps you alert and ready to go at all times. But the downside is this: when it's flooded into the system excessively, now it puts you on that high level that even when you even when you do not need the epinephrine hormone again to be at play, it keeps on working. And so sometimes when you need to shut down, you find out that you're not able to shut down again. Now, so it puts you in that high tensed situation. You're always ready and just good to go at all times when you do not even want to go. So even when you want to shut down and sleep, your internal organs are not ready to shut down because the epinephrine hormone is overly circulated in the system, and that is causing you to be excessively alert beyond what you should be. Now, this now causes a lot of issues for the individual. One, it makes the individual to begin to have what we call burnout. Then again, it also affects certain organs in the system because one, it won't make you to sleep. And when you do not sleep, the implication is that the brain does not get the rest that is needed. It's just like having a system or a phone you're overusing, overcharging, and every other thing. It gets to a point in time, it starts getting hot. It's telling you, oh, there are phones now that will tell you that this is too hot, the environment is too hot, you need to shut it down or something. That's just the same way it is with the brain. So if you do not shut it down, then the brain can tend to get to the level where it begins to malfunction. It begins to behave in a way that is not intended with the way it should behave normally. So you have burnout situation when the individual is performing the same role over and over without a succor, without taking a step backwards and putting all the energy, and it's not being able to get away from all of the pressure. Anxiety is also there. Anxiety comes because of the expectation. Sometimes we have cases, we're not sure of how it's going to end. We have billable hours, we have a whole lot of things driving us, and then it puts us on that tense mode. Remember the epinephrine hormone that we talked about earlier on. So it's the adrenaline in the system that puts you in the fight or flight mode, and the end result could also be anxiety, depression, especially when you did not win a case or when you have become emotionally attached to a case. Now, something now didn't go right as it should, and then invariably you feel knocked out, especially when over and over it seems like you're having repeated losses or you are not even getting the result that you want. Now, sometimes it's not even about the case. Sometimes individuals just feel overwhelmed because of life's realities in the cell. Different challenges coming back and forth, your expectations aren't being met. Okay, so I just saw somebody said they can't hear me well.
Yes, ma'am.
Can I get a confirmation?
Yes, you can increase your volume, ma'am.
Okay, I've done that.
Yes, and you seems a bit fast
But
as well.
they are very audible.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
All right, okay. All right, but I hope I'm audible now. Oh, all right. Thank you, Oluwarunke. Thank you so much. Yeah.
Yes, you
Okay.
are.
All right. Thank you. All right. So I was talking about the implication of the realities that we have spoken about earlier, and I was trying to explain how the epinephrine hormone, which is a do good hormone in the system, could also have a drawback if peradventure we overuse it. And because of what we do as professionals, as lawyers, because of the long hours, because of the emotional attachment to situations, to the cases and other things like that, it tends to come to the fore. I had spoken about burnout, that we get burnout when we keep doing the same thing over and over again without a break, without a sugar. And then again, I've also talked about poor sleep. Sometimes because the epinephrine hormone is on the increase. Now, an individual is not able to shut down. They are not able to get away from the high level because it's so much in the system. By the time they want to sleep, the hormone is still running in the blood streams, and so the individual is not able to shut down as much as they would want to be able to shut down. And so again, we also know that for some of them, because of maybe the cases and the difficulties or the expectations, anxiety also becomes a major problem with most lawyers. Anxiety becomes a major challenge in how we're able to deal in some of the ways we're even able to cope with the situation as much as possible. Again, depression. I said earlier that depression isn't sometimes associated only with the cases, but sometimes it's about our perception. Now, let me put this out. But sometimes when an individual does not perform as much as they, now not even expectation of others, as much as they would want to, there is a communication that is sent back to the system, to themselves. There is a communication, there is like a report that they give their mind. And so in giving themselves a score, they sometimes tend to judge themselves poorly. The moment you communicate a poor report to yourself, your brain interprets it as a no good. And if you keep feeding the brain back with such information, then it begins to help you pilate it. It compiles it in such a way that every time you even do good, you will want to compare it with the record that you have in the brain. And if it's not as high as the one you have in the brain, then it will still rate you poorly. Now, sometimes it is not people rating us poorly that makes us to have some of the psychological issues. Sometimes it's the feedback that we give ourselves. If the feedback you give yourself is negative, then every other thing will be negative. Because the moment the thought is negative, then your feeling will be negative, and then your behavior would also be negative. So this means that when I tell myself I am not doing good at all, I would invariably feel slow. I would not feel unhappy. I will feel sad. And then the behavioral response is I may either begin to withdraw, not coming so much to the office or not even wanting to get a case. I feel unmotivated, uninspired to even want to do anything. That I tend to begin to lose energy among other things like that. So it begins to come out in emotional exhaustion, pessimistic feelings, among other things, and then the individual would not be able to function as much as they should function. Now, again, one of the other implications of the realities that we had looked at earlier is substance use disorder. Now, somebody will say, oh, we are lawyers, we are professionals, we understand that we should not use substance. But people use substance when their defenses are down. People use substance or substances now when their defenses are down. Sometimes an individual may not be able to cope with the realities of the world again. They're not able to cope with all that is happening around them. They're not able to cope with the pressure. They're not able to cope with the expectations. They are not able to manage the emotional attachment and bond that they have had, or the sense of loss and failure that they feel or they have. Now, all of these cumulates together to affect the individual and then affect how they're able to see the world, how they're able to cope with the world, how they are able to interpret their daily life experiences. And I will tell you that this is huge. Now, you just say, oh, but it's okay. They see the world differently. No, this difference oftentimes comes from the negative perspective. It comes from the individual seeing the world as not so good, the individual seeing themselves as not being able to cope. And then to be able to now deal with this, they sometimes result into using substance. As a matter of fact, looking at statistics, it has shown that quite a lot of the legal professional indulge in substances ranging from alcohol to some other highly addictive one, all in the bid to be able to cope and deal with their situation. But like I said, we'll still soon get to how to cope. Now, it now also is in line with some other physical conditions, among other things that were. Now, what are the symptoms? Because if we are talking about well-being, mental health, and other things like that, it's important that we understand what are the signs that I would see that will help me to know that, oh, there is a problem, or I'm okay, I'm doing well, among other things like that. Now, one of the key things is emotional disturbance, or what we call emotional disorder or mood disorder. For the individual, they start having fluctuations in mood. All right, so they could be happy in the morning, and then in the afternoon, they don't even understand what's going on around them. They won't even understand why they are feeling or why they feel the way they feel. So there may not be a concrete explanation to what exactly is happening to them. Now, for some people, maybe this is normal and everything, but when it's now persistent for about 2 weeks without a clear thought on why this is happening, or this individual is not able to shake it off, like we will say, then it's a call for concern. Another sign, important sign, is a withdrawal from the things that usually would make them happy. So this individual loves coming to the office, loves sharing thoughts, loves just being in this space. But all of a sudden, they don't feel motivated to come. They don't want to come. They don't want to get involved in the activities and other things like that. That is another clear sign that there is a problem with them. Loss of interest or lack of motivation, very key indices that the individual may be experiencing a burnout, or the individual may be going through a psychological phase that they need help to be able to take care of. Another very important one is for them, they feel easily overwhelmed with situation or challenges. So for some of them, sometimes they get overwhelmed with happenings and events, and because of that, they tend to lash out. So they become highly irritable. They tend to get highly irritable, in the face of work pressures, among other things like that. So it's not going to be like the normal work pressure, but for them, they are perceiving it like, oh, this is more than I can handle. This is more than I can deal with. Again, for some people, it comes with change in sleep pattern. Okay, so for some people, they're not able to sleep as well as they should. Now, remember I said earlier, the epinephrine hormone, when it comes to the surge in the bloodstream, it does not allow the individual to shut down. And so that means they are not able to get the required amount of sleep like they should. But beyond that is the fact that this individual, it may not even be able to sleep at all. For some, they just sleep 2 hours or 3 hours thereabout, and they get up. Now, they may wake up and feel like they are good to go again, but it starts taking a gradual toll on the mental functioning, and then the individual over time begins to shut down, and sleep becomes a big problem for them. And when sleep becomes a big problem, it tends to affect all other organs again. Now, sleep eating pattern may also be another very important one for some of this individual, or important sign that you can see. Now, for some people, they would eat excessively. For some, they will not eat at all. Now, when an individual is depressed, they would tend to make food their friend, because it would give them solace. But when an individual is anxious, then they would not be able to eat. So when anxiety is in place, the individual may not be able to eat. But when it's depression or burnout and other things like that, food becomes a comfort, a friend that they can confide in at that particular point in time. It could lead to obesity and quite a whole lot of other things like that. So self-esteem may also now become another thing that we wouldn't have to begin to deal with. So it's like a chain, dragging one, attaching to one, and bringing on one. So if it's not properly handled, one could just say, oh, it's simply burnout. But no, beyond burnout, it leads to some other issues that the individual may not be able to handle and cope with. Again, for some people, there's a state of helplessness and hopelessness. They're asking themselves, how do I move from here? What do I do away from all of this pressure, away from these realities that I find myself in? And so it's important that we begin to watch out for some of these signs. For some people, isolation from people, they just tend to withdraw because they see the world as not being fair. They see the world as not being friendly. They see that things aren't happening the way they would want it to happen. And so for them, they tend to isolate themselves away from people and not even want to talk with people in any way or at all, or just be in their own space away from all of that. Now, again, for some other people, you now have that they become exhausted, overly exhausted. They sleep, but most times they wake up and they still feel very exhausted. They feel as if they don't have the energy to get go and to move on again, and that creates a problem. So how do we deal with this? How do we get away from all of these things that we have identified? Now, you yourself know, some of us have experienced some of these things that we had spoken about. Some of us are experiencing it. But how do we get away from all of this? Importantly, one, like we had said in our topic, work-life balance. If there is no balance, then there will be a disarray. We will call it the incongruence in our space here now. Because if there is no balance, then the world is not stable. And instability brings distresses, it brings anxiety, it brings worry, it brings depression. So we must be able to create a balance in our professional life. It means we are prioritizing both, but we are looking for the leverage. We are looking for that concrete point in the middle of work and life where we can achieve stability and where functioning can be okay for us as much as possible. So for productivity to be well enhanced, it's important that we are able to create that balance. But now researchers are coming up and they're saying to us that it is not work-life balance, because for some people, they are not able to create the balance that they want because they do not control the workspace. Now, if you're working for someone who demands 9 to 10 hours of your time, so you're in the office from about 7 a.m. in the morning or 8 a.m. till about 9 a.m., honestly, you may not be able to achieve balance. So if we expect you to achieve balance, then we are lying and deceiving ourselves. So he's saying work may not be balanced for some people, but there's something that is called work-life blending. Work-life blending is saying that can be a juxtapose, or there can be a blend in the work and life system that can help you to be able to move or do things effectively. And what does that entail? It's simply talking about flexibility and integration. That sometimes we may have to make a bend, sometimes we may have to make a shift, sometimes we would have to integrate certain lifestyle even in the workspace. So even when we are in the workspace and we are working from about 7 a.m. to 8 a.m. thereabout, almost 11 hours thereabout, and you can't get home until 10, 11, 12, then what are the things that we can integrate in the workplace that can make the work even more better for us? Sometimes it could not even just be in the workspace. Sometimes it's also about the hybrid culture. Okay, so I am at work today, then I stay off tomorrow. And then tomorrow, it's not like I'm not working, but it simply just means I'm working from home in a conducive environment that would help me to be able to work effectively. All right, thank you. All right, so that will be able to help me to be able to work effectively. So work-life blending becomes the new norm that we're trying to get into, that would help us to be able to integrate both our work and personal life, where sometimes boundaries may be blurred. Now, that is the challenge with work-life boundaries, work-life blending, because sometimes you do not know when you have moved or shifted away from what the boundaries that should be in place. And so sometimes you are at the job, and then because there are other attractions or addictions that helps you to. Now, let me give you an example. For most of us, I don't know how you worked during the COVID period, but for some other professionals who were not able to get into the office space, stay at home, and then they were doing their job. But one of the hallmark is they can wake up earlier, now get to the office in their space, in their home space, and then begin to do the job. If they are not mindful, they tend to work more than when in the office. And so that's where the demarcation needs to come, because if we are not able to manage it properly, then there could be a distress. So how do we now maintain this? How do we maintain? First of all, is by setting boundaries. See, it's very important that from the get-go, you understand that your workspace is not your life space. Now, there was a dilemma some times ago when somebody was asking, and the question they asked is, which is more important, work or life? Work or life? Now, somebody came and said, if you do not have work, how do you sustain the life? But another person came and said, if there is no life, and then you can't even do the work in itself. So that means the two coexist. The two must work hand in hand. But it's important that we are able to identify the fact that, all right, so thank you for that. All right, so let's quickly have that conversation. So which is more important? Let's have that comments coming. Which is more important, work or life? Can we quickly have responses?
Life.
Life,
Is more
life, life.
important.
I see life. Thank you. Thank you. Oh, yes, Omolara says, I will choose my life over and over again. Yes, thank you so very much for that.
Life.
Life, yes. And thank you so much. I agree with that. Without life, will be nobody to do the work. Yes, that's quite true. That's why we are having this conversation, because if we do not understand which is important, then it's going to be very difficult for us to be able to draw. Oh, okay. Oluwaroke says they intermingle. Yeah, I quite agree. Now, if you look at it from, you remember when we started this conversation today, I said it's a function of perception. Our perception must be right. Now, it doesn't mean that it's all correct sometimes, but must be right. Now, some are coming from the angle and saying, if you do not have a life, you cannot do the job. Now, when we are even talking about life, I am not talking about living, breathing in and out. No, it's beyond that. Life has to be on about 8 pillars. There are about 8 pillars of wellness that makes us functional as human beings. You have the financial life, you have the psychological life, you have the emotional life, you have the physical life, you have the intellectual life, you have the environmental life. About 8 of them, 8 pillars on the structure by which life in itself exists. If one of them is broken, then every other one can't stand. It can't stand because there will be a vacuum, and that vacuum will always communicate. It will speak out. You would always know that there is a vacuum, and then you need to be able to deal with it. So there is no clear cut to say, oh, it's all about life. Now, I will tell you for a fact that there are people who have life. Now, when you talk about physical life, good. You talk about psychological life, maybe yes, average. But again, you talk about financial life, then it's zero. Now, for them, they also have psychological distress. They could have problems functioning and dealing with a lot of things. And so the pressure to be oftentimes leads us from the work first. It's that pressure to be, it's that pressure to attain, the pressure to achieve, the pressure to be known. Those are the things that pushes us and make us to forget the life well-being is important first. I remember we had said it is not just about the physical life that I'm alive and I'm breathing. No, it goes beyond that. The intellectual, the financial, the psychological, the emotional, the mental, they're all ingrained together to form what we call life. And so that pressure sometimes makes us to forget that there should be a boundary. Most times I've seen people who will tell you that I sold my leave, I didn't go on leave, and then they paid me and other things like that. And then we tend to make a boast about that and do some bit of shakara, and other things like that. But it's not substantial. No, when you sell your leave, you don't go on leave. It means that you're depriving your body of the rest that it needs to be able to function and then to be able to recharge and push on again. So boundary setting is important. We must create boundary between work and our personal life and make effort to disconnect after work. Now, I've seen people who, even after work, they are not able to leave the office. So they have left physically the office space, but psychologically, they are still in the office space, because if their phone rings or there's a beep sound, or they're even checking their mail and say, oh, this person promised to send a mail to them. Because when you leave the office, shut down. Life will still continue the following day. There will be opportunities to do the things that you should do the following day. And like we had said, if you are existing, then you would have essence. But there can be essence when there is no when you are not existing. So existing is the first thing, is the primary thing that drives us and pushes us forward to be able to achieve what it is that we need to be able to do. So create boundaries. It's important. Now, another very important thing in boundary setting is that you must be able to communicate it. Now, in our mind, some of us have boundaries. Yes, times and again, we have gotten angry with our bosses or people that we work with, to say colleagues, to say, oh, why don't they respect my boundaries? But have you communicated your boundaries to them? Because you must be able to communicate it in clear times, in a way they can understand it, in a way they can reason to know. And so they know that, oh, when she does not pick up her phone by 10, it means that she had shut down. And then you also will put mechanism in place that will not allow you to receive mails by 10, except it's an emergency, which is not an everyday thing. It's a one-off thing. And so it's important that we are able to communicate these boundaries to people that we work with. Oh, by 12 and 1, during the day, I would love to take a walk away from my desk. I would love to take a walk away from where I'm seated, so that at least I know that mentally I'm able to debrief myself. Then I feel recharged. Then I come back and do all the tasks. And then that helps you as an individual to be able to function well. Then the second one is also to be able to prioritize. Prioritizing is quite important. What is important to you? You must be able to break it down. What do I hope to achieve today? What are the tasks ahead of me? What is the most important? The things that I am meant to do. If I do not do this, would this have any grave impact repercussion? Now, why we are talking about this is because sometimes for some people they have what we call the type A personality. The type A personality wants to get things done, and then they want to make sure that they exhaust everything on their list. If they are not able to do it, it creates problem for them. And so for some of them like that, if they are not able to do what they feel they should accomplish in a day, they feel bad. They feel sad. It's like they have failed. So they have the feeling or the sense of failure, which could be very detrimental to their functioning and how well they're able to cope. So please learn to be able to prioritize your focus on the essential. Which one is important? Which one must I get done today? If I don't do this today, are there repercussions? Is there a consequence of anything?
Spray.
Okay, will it affect anything? And it's also prioritizing is also in tandem with time management. Time management has to do with how do I prioritize my day? How do I schedule my day to be able to ensure that I get the things that I need to do, I get it done as much as I should do that. Now, if we would also sustain our mental health, our well-being, in this demanding profession, then we must learn how to deal with stress. Now, stress is part of life. There is no arguing that. It's a part of life. It's part of human existence. You're waking up in the morning, there are demands on you that sometimes you are not even prepared to meet. There are expectations that are coming in. There are calls from different angles. Nobody wants to know whether you're good or not. Nobody wants to know whether you're functioning or not. And so stress is a normal part of our life. Now add that up to what you do in the legal world. Now that could also make it so overwhelming, commuting from one place to other just to be able to get a case settled, be in court, among other things like that. That can also be very overwhelming. But importantly, number one thing, identify the triggers. What are the things that triggers me in terms of stress? Okay, what are those things that can be a trigger? What are the stressors around me? If you identify it, then it's going to be easy for you to be able to deal with it. If you do not identify your stressors, then dealing with it will become very difficult. So identify the things in your world that are stressors that can affect you. No, for some people, now, you know that in talking about the different personality types, there are some people who don't get things done until the last minute. They love the pressure. They glory in the pressure. It is when they said, oh, it is 1 minute or 1 day to, that is when the adrenaline comes, it pushes them to the fore, and then they are running helter-skelter, and then by the time they finish, they come, whoo, like that. But everybody is not like that. And so you must understand what works for you. What system can you put in place? And there are 4 cardinal things that helps us to be able to deal with stress. We call them the 4 A's of dealing with stress. The first one is avoid. Are there things that you can avoid? Sometimes it's about identifying and looking at, okay, these things I can do without it. Okay, so rather than delay this assignment till Monday, why don't I get it done today, Friday, so that I am sure that there is nothing on my desk over the weekend, and then I'm able to go home, and then I'm okay. I'm able to do some other things I enjoy at home. That's how to avoid stress. So you begin to plan your time, plan your day, do your scheduling so well that, and then you don't take up too many cases than you can handle. That's how to avoid things. Then the second one is alter. Sometimes we can change or alter the stressor that cannot be avoided. Your perception about it. Okay, now I'm in the traffic. I need to get a cut, but there is a traffic on the road. But there is nothing you can do about the traffic. There is no jumping. There is no bashing other cars to be able to move out of the road for you. So rather than that, just getting overly apprehensive or any other thing, why don't you just take a pause, breathe in and out, and then put on a music. Just play one of the songs you like so much. Let it just begin to flow around you. That way you are uttering your response to that situation. Now, you're waiting for the judge's decision. You've done your best in defending the client. You've done virtually everything that you know you should do. Now it's not in your control. And that's one thing we should also understand. The locus of control a lot of times isn't with us. And so when the locus of control is not within your capability as an individual, you would learn to pause in the moment, take in a deep breath, breathe in, breathe out, and then just find a way to be able to relax. That helps you to be able to cope with the stressor. Another very important one in dealing with stress is accept. Sometimes there are realities that we cannot change. There are realities that we cannot alter. And the only thing we can do about it is to accept it. Accept the reality. It's 10 hours I have to be on the job. So rather than see it as a stressor, I see it as a must do. I see it as part of living. I see it as part of existing. So I do not allow it to bother me. And so that way you won't feel pressured. That way you won't feel overwhelmed. You won't become irritable in any way, because you are programmed your mind to accept it as part of your realities, and then you're able to cope and deal with it. And then the other last one under that is adapt. What are the coping strategies? There are coping strategies that can now help you. If you cannot change it, you are accepting it. We now begin to adapt. Adaptability, I mentioned that earlier also. Adaptability helps you to be able to move in tandem with the situation or with the environment, with what is happening around you. So I'm able to live with this world. I accept it as my reality. I accept it as one way to be able to go. So it's either you avoid, you alter, you accept, or you adapt to the situation. Now, again, we're talking about mindfulness. You talk about mindfulness. Mindfulness is quite important. Now, mindfulness is standing in the here and in the now. Like we have talked about, avoid, alter, accept, earlier on. It's important that there are some things that you may not be able to change. There are realities of your workspace. There are realities of the demands of the organization or of the job that you may not be able to change, but that you have to adapt to. Mindfulness now helps you to adapt to it. Mindfulness is being in the here and in the now. Are you mindful? Now, let me throw this out. Manafalaka, can you please help us type this too? So let's hear people's response. Are you mindful or is your mind full? Are you mindful or is your mind full? Now let's quickly see what the responses are before I talk more about mindfulness. Are you mindful, mindful, one word, or is your mind full? Good. Christiana, thank you. Christiana says, I am mindful. Let's have other responses. Are you mindful or is your mind full?
I am mindful.
Dolapo said both. Mohammed, thank you. Okay. Mind is full. Ganiu, mind is full. Okay. Okay. All right. So we must begin to empty the mind today. Thank you. Thank you. FMNA, thank you. My mind is full. Antonia, yes. Okay. Now, when we are mindful, it means that we are staying into, okay. Okay. For like I said, sometimes it could be mindful. Okay. I'll go, okay. We have a lot of people who are mindful. Okay, my mind is very full. Dorcas, mindful, but the mind is empty until we feel it. Yes, thank you so very much for that. Now, the reality is this. Awareness helps us to be able to stay mindful. You're aware of your emotions. You're aware of your emotional reactions. You're aware of your thought patterns. You're aware of your belief. You're aware of what is going on around you. That helps you to stay mindful. What is going on around me? Why am I thinking the way I'm thinking? Why am I behaving the way I'm behaving? Why is my response on the negative? Why am I being pessimistic? Now, this is very important. Okay, so that's what helps us to stay mindful, is the practice of using your awareness on the present moment without judgment. You're not judging yourself to say, oh, it's because yes, my boss shouted at me because maybe I didn't get the brief ready on time, or maybe the expectation about the brief isn't what I submitted. And he shouted, I feel bad. I feel pressured. I feel unhappy. I feel unappreciated. That's okay. You identify the emotion. We want to talk about emotional regulation soon. You identify the emotion, but you must stay aware. Staying aware helps you to be able to deal with emotional issues. It helps you to be able to regulate yourself in such a way that you are able to deal with situations appropriately. But when your mind is full, it simply means you have a junk of all things going in there, and then you are not dealing with it. It simply means you're not dealing with issues as appropriately as you should. Now, if you want to begin to empty your mind, you begin to deal with situations as it occurs. Now, what can I do about this? Remember what we talked about earlier in terms of altering, avoiding. It's the same thing that can apply here. What can I do about the situation to have control, the locus of control? Who can help me? You delegate. Is somebody available to be able to help me to do the things I should do? Oh, or what else can I do? Can I leave this till tomorrow? These are ways to begin to empty your mind. The things you can control, the things that you cannot control, like the serenity prayer. God grant me the serenity. That helps us to be able to know the things we can change, the things we cannot change, and then the wisdom to be able to understand the nation between the two, and that helps us to be able to cope well. So we must begin to move from the level of mindful to the level of being mindful. So mindfulness helps us to stay aware. It helps us to understand what's going on within us or around us, and it helps us to be able to accept ourselves and then be able to push on effectively. So you must be able to understand that. Now that leads us to the next one. We talk about emotional regulation. Now, moving from mindfulness, you are aware of what's going on around you. You're aware of why your thought pattern is like it is. Now, sometimes, people would use this phrase. It's like I woke up on the wrong side of the bed, or maybe complete sentence now. It's like I woke up on the wrong side of the bed. And then the question you ask is, which side is the wrong side of the bed? Can somebody just help me here now? Which side is the wrong side of the bed? Is there a wrong side? Is there a wrong side of the bed? No, thank you. There is no wrong side. But it's just, okay, Dolapo, thank you too. I don't think so. There is no wrong side. No wrong side of the bed. It's what is on your mind. Thank you. And because a lot of people do not understand why they are feeling the way they are feeling, okay, or why they feel overwhelmed, they feel like, oh, I didn't wake up so good today. Now, mindfulness helps us to regulate. Please don't forget that. When you're mindful, it helps you to be able to regulate because you're able to account for what is going on. You stay in the moment. You stay in the moment to understand what is going on within you and how well you are able to do things. So you must be able to pause in the moment, evaluate. Why do I feel this way? My work situation, I feel bothered by what's going on around me, or I feel unappreciated. I feel like I'm pressured. I feel like now the bigger question is, what do I do about it? Is there something I can do about it? Is there a way I can change the narrative? When you're able to begin to bring all of that to the fore, it helps you so well to be now able to regulate your emotion. Now, don't forget this, the emotional control lies with you. It does not lie with your emotion. So sometimes people say, you make me angry. You did cause this. No, it's not that person that caused it. You allowed yourself to explode that way. You reacted that way because you were not able to regulate your emotion. So mindfulness helps you to stay aware. Awareness helps you to regulate your emotion. So when something happens to you, you are able to say, oh, this, and then you're able to move on effectively. Then again, it's also about self-care. Now, a lot of us sometimes do not give too much attention to ourselves. Okay, so we must be able to give cogent attention to how we take care of ourselves in terms of sleep. The standard hours of sleep is about 7 to 9 hours for an adult. You must be able to achieve that. Otherwise, you will have what we call sleep debt. And sleep debt simply means that you are not fulfilling the mandatory hours of sleep per day. So there is a debt that you need to pay. And if it keeps accumulating, then it starts affecting your functioning, affecting a toll on your mental health, and other things like that. So diet, exercises are also very, very important. Exercises gives us endorphin hormone that makes us feel good about ourselves, and that helps us then find fun beyond the briefs, beyond the call to bar, beyond all the things that you do. Please, to get out there, soak yourself inside, and just get some bit of fresh light here and breeze and whatever it is that would help you to be able to relax. Then lastly, self-love is important. I want everybody on this call to give themselves a hug. Just hug yourself. Even if nobody has hugged you today, nobody has hugged you throughout this week, you feel overwhelmed, you feel pressured, just give yourself a hug. It's okay. Sometimes it's okay to fail. Sometimes it's okay to make mistake. Sometimes it's okay not to do it so well. Sometimes it's okay. But the most important thing is learn from it and then be able to push through. So please, because it gives a feedback to the brain. It helps your brain to understand that there is love, there is compassion, and then that helps you to be able to stay well. So deal with doubt, forgive yourself. And then as we begin to wrap up, manage your expectations. Sometimes we may not be able to do as much as we think we can do, but please, it's important that you are able to manage your expectation. And then gratitude is also very important. Be grateful. Be grateful for the little things. Be grateful for what life is. And then lastly, please get support. Sometimes you cannot do it alone. There are things that you may be able to do alone, but there are things that you may not be able to do alone. So you can need support of your colleagues, you need support of senior colleagues, junior colleagues, sometimes your mentor, sometimes even the therapist. Get help, talk with somebody. Sometimes when you pour it out, it helps you to be able to refocus and then get back on the track, and then you're able to run again. Now, as lawyers, our job is demanding and stressful, but please let's note that prioritizing well-being it helps us to be able to avoid burnout, helps us to maintain health and happiness. And again, if we're able to maximize some of the things that we had mentioned here today, then we'll be able to focus well, do well, live healthy, and be not just good for our client, but even the best for ourselves, because that helps us to perform maximally. Thank you so very much for having me on this call.
Thank you so very much, Doctor. My book is so full. Like, so full, and I know that everyone on this call have learned a lot. Like you said so much, and I believe that I will still share the slides. There is a slide so that everyone can still see it. And can we just put something on the platform to appreciate Doc? As we are doing that, please, question and answer is coming soon. Post your questions and answers on the platform. And you said so much. Self-love is important. Talking to people, like therapy, you cannot do life alone. Talk out, speak up, and you have given us different modalities of how we can work these things through. But before we are going to be going to question and answer, because I know that each and every one of us, yes, beautiful presentation. Thank you, Doc. We love you. Thank you for not just showing up. You gave us your all, and it means a lot to us. Thank you so much, Dr. Olua Kemi. We're almost namesakes, so so I'm proud in right now. Thank you. Thank you. Please keep the accolades coming. Then the question and answer will come now. However, I want us to just take a message from the representative of the chairman of the NBA National Mental Health and Wellbeing Committee, ably represented by Barrister Maduko David, the secretary of the committee, to acknowledge his presence. Barrister David, please, I'll be highlighting you now. Yes, so that you can speak. You're welcome.
Thank you so much. Good afternoon, everybody. I take due cognizance of the chairman, NBA Ikeja branch, our very prolific speaker. I stand on all duly established people at this point. My name is David Maduku. I'm standing in for the chairman of the NBA Mental Health and Wellbeing Committee. Is unavoidably absent. The topic, wellness, mental health and wellness, well-being in law could not have been more. We live in a world and at a time when people hardly have time to carry out simple medical procedures on themselves until a major occurrence. Lawyers in Nigeria do a maximum of 10 hours a day work within a time frame of 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. Some do more till 9 p.m. or 10 p.m., inclusive of the time for litigation, arbitration, mediation, and other legal engagements. It's therefore imperative that webinars, symposiums, and seminars of this nature we carry it out from time to time to help create and keep our colleagues aware, and also as a wake-up call on all of us to check up on our mental health and well-being. On this, I congratulate and thank our speaker. She's been very wonderful. For me, keywords from her has been setting boundaries. Your workplace is not your life place. That's very, very, very symbolic for me. And she has also made us understand that we should focus on the essentials, identify the triggers. What are the things that we get the stress on? Then the 4 aids of dealing with the stress: avoid, alter, cope, adapt. That is also very key. So on that note, I thank you very much again, and I congratulate the NBA Ikeja branch for organizing this webinar. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Barrister David Maduko, ably representing Lenel Yakubu Kadri, the NBA chairman for mental health and well-being. You are so welcome, sir. We're happy to have you here. Thank you for joining.
Thank you.
So before we start answering the questions, I want us to repeat the last thing that we did. Let us hug ourselves. Self-love. I don't know whether somebody has hugged you today. Just hug yourself. There's a feeling that comes with it. And just say sweet words to yourself. I love myself. I love you, Folakemi. I love you so much. I'm enough. And I'm blessed to be in this body. Yes, just say that to yourself. Say that to yourself. It means a lot. All right. Again, please, if you have questions for the doctor, kindly post it on the platform. Everyone may not be able to talk, but we have room and access to the woman. I wanted to say the woman of God, but it's also the woman of God where you are working is your ministry to the doctor. So I'm going to be bringing her again back on the call so that we can, if you ask questions, kindly indicate, we'll call. Then you can also post on the platform. We will read your questions and the doctor will answer. Thank you, everyone. So I will just ask one question that is very germane before other ones start coming in. For someone that is going through depression right now, how can the person navigate this particular position that they have found themselves?
All right, thank you so much. Remember I said earlier that one of the core reasons why people have mental health issues, breakdown, is because of the thoughts, your belief, your experiences. Now, the inferences you make from those experiences is really what causes people to have a mental episode. Now, if we all just look at where you're coming from, what are my thought patterns, what are my beliefs, and then you now begin to work towards changing them. So what we do when we talk about depression, looking at thoughts disorder, is making a change. There are not a lot of things that we can control with the realities that are in our world. Financial realities is there. Nobody can control what the dollar rate is looking like. Nobody can control the economic situation, but you can control your thought. You can control your perception, the meaning it gives to you. Now, let me give you an example. If I write 6 here now, everybody is going to tell me that I wrote a 6 because I have informed you that I am writing a 6. So this is 6, me writing 6. But the truth again is this. One, I may not have written anything. I have just told you I am writing. Now, that sometimes we make inferences from life based on what life wants us to believe, and then we run with those beliefs. We must begin to look at, is it true? Is it right? And that's how to challenge the thought. Is it true? Okay, even if it is now true, what can I do to change it? Because we must understand that we have control over our thought pattern. We have control over the meaning we give to life. And then you can draw other meaning from it. So I can write a 6, and then I can choose to interpret it as a 9. I can write a 3, and I can choose to interpret it as an E, a W, a M. So you can make different meanings from life experiences. So even when your boss is harsh, even when the time, the duration of work is too much, please, you can draw other meaning from it rather than say, oh, they want to kill me, they are pressuring me, it's all about me, I'm not the good one. It is a phase, it will soon pass. I would also get the hang on this. I would also become a chief, a consultant or a professional, the best in town. You prep yourself with some of this talk, and that's why positive affirmation, positive talks are very important. But if you find out that you are not able to do that again, then you can speak with someone. It's also important sometimes to dump what is on our mind on somebody, a professional, who will be able to help you deal with it adequately. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Doctor. Someone is asking if they can we can share your contacts with them.
Go ahead.
Okay, all right, very well. So we'll share the doctor's contact later for anyone that wants to reach out to her. And there's this saying that I always talk to myself: who worry help? You worry, doesn't change anything. So why she used to be worried? So who worry help? You just carry the thing and just drop it and live life to the fullest. Are we saying that we don't have any question we are digesting everything that doctor has given us. Okay, all right. So we have a question from Shegun Adewumi. And he said, by the nature of active legal practice, one observes that the workload may in some cases culminate in mental stress to lawyers in the course of discharge of their legal responsibilities. The question is, how many of our law subscribe to putting in place for their staff employee compensation package in order to benefit from this? Okay, I believe that is a message across that as
I think that
lawyers
is
we
for
should
you.
put that. Yeah, it's for us.
That's
We
for you.
should
But
put.
maybe before you just let me just chip in something now. Beyond the measure of what the organization can do, a part of what they can do is also looking at EAP, Employee Assistance Program, which is so versatile that will help people to always go back, have a place where they can talk about their issues. If we have support systems like that put in place, that would help people to come and talk about their issues, about the challenges, even before they get to the level of whether we are compensating or any other thing like
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
So those are things that we can put in place. There are programs that we can also begin to do, like this that we have done. It's important. It's good. We can do so much anymore. So if people can have a place where they can talk about their issues and ventilate so much more.
Yes, you have nailed it, doctor. That before we even get to the compensation stage, let's create room a free policies in a workplace whereby people are able to talk, accessible to seniors, to principals. There are a lot of people that have they have taking so much that they are looking for who to express them to, especially in the workplace. So this is a to do for us as lawyers, as employees, employers, to put structures around that your juniors see you very accessible, to talk to you, to open up to you. Don't be rigid, as well as even seniors as well. The opportunity to create this and also discussions around this will help us at the long run as legal practitioners. So any other question, please?
Somebody wrote the 4 A's I mentioned. I said
Okay.
avoid. Sometimes you can avoid the situation. Sometimes you can alter your perception about the situation, how you see, the meaning you give to the situation. Sometimes all that you need to do is accept. There is nothing I can do about this. It is raining. I need to go out. I have to accept my reality and find a way to deal with it. Then adapt. Adapt to the reality of your job. Adapt to the reality of your profession. Adapt to the reality of your marriage. Sometimes a lot of these things are just there, but we just need to be able to adapt to certain things. Now, I'm not saying stay in a toxic relations, but stay within the confines of the realities that is there, so that it would help you know how to deal with the stressors and then be able to push through effectively.
Yeah. Just for clarity more, doctor, when you talk about avoid, can you explain that avoid is not denial of the situation? Because yeah, please just expatiate on that.
When we're talking about avoiding, we are not saying run away. We are not saying try and gloss it over and say no. Avoidance simply means you are identifying the stressor and then you are putting parameters in place to ensure that something like that does not happen. Okay, so if you're going out, let's assume you want to take you're going out, you want to service your car to ensure that it does not break down on the road. That is avoidance. I'm avoiding having a conflict or a confrontation with my boss. Okay. And so, what I would do, because I know that this boss is so particular about what I have written, so I would make sure that I go back, do everything very well. I do not do it in that haphazard way. I do it very well, thoroughly, so that I can avoid confrontation. I can avoid conflict. That's what we are talking about. So, we are not
Yeah.
saying run away. We are saying put parameters in place that would ensure that you do not have a problem at the end of the day. Thank you.
Yes. Thank you so much, Doctor. It has really been an
Sorry,
amazing
there's somebody that is
conversation.
talking, Madam Folakemi, sorry. There's somebody that was asking a question about anxiety.
Okay.
Constant anxiety means that you're worried about something, you're afraid. Something there's a pressure within you, and you're trying to now. It's still the same thing like the stressor that we talk about. First of all, identify, why am I anxious? Okay, you must be able to identify. Is it the fear of the work environment, the pressure and other things? Identify first of all what is making you to be anxious. Now, when you identify it, look at it and ask yourself: is it true? Is this the absolute truth? Okay, because a lot of times things has different faces beyond what we see. So ask yourself, is it the absolute truth? And then again, now start working towards changing the narrative. If I'm not even good enough in terms of presentation, can I begin to now present to my friends and my colleagues so that they can also help me to make sense of it and other things like that? So those are ways to be. So the feedback you give to yourself is what is making you anxious. It is not the environment. So you must change the feedback that you are giving to yourself about the people around you, the environment, and even yourself. Sometimes it's just the fact that we see ourselves as not being capable. That's why we feel we cannot be able to do it. But we must begin to change the narrative, change your thought process, and then you'll be able to work so well on it. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Doctor. In the absence of further questions, we are not running out yet. I want us to make use of the chat box and let's post what we have learned today. Just one or two things that you have learned from today's conversation. It has been an amazing one, mental health and well-being. Can you post one or two things that you have learned? Okay, there's another question. While the doctor will be answering that, please can you post one or two things that you have learned today? Doctor, there is a question that are there centers or institutions set up by governments to assist the citizens in making a complaint to whenever we observe such mental challenges around us? And are
Oh,
there
yeah.
phone numbers to call?
I may not have phone numbers, but I can get them and send to you so that you could share out to your members. But there are centers, especially in Lagos State, where people can come to. I work in the Federal Neuropsychiatric Hospital, Yaba, and I know that sometimes we have had people who come bring in these people on the road for medical attention, and we have what we call the Alano Fund in the Federal Neuropsychiatric Hospital, where people pull resources, and it's just sitting down there for people who don't have family members who they have just found on the road to just bring them to the hospital, and then they are able to get the best of help. I know that the Lagos State has the one in Majidon where they attend to in Ikorodu, where they attend to people. But I'll get the phone numbers across to all so that we can begin to help as much as possible. Yes.
Yes, thank you so much. So, can you post what you have learned so far? We have on more than 100 people that joined this um this webinar, which is a very good start for us. All right, so we learned about the 4 A's of stress management. Yes, and we learned about self-love, which is paramount and important. Remember when the doctor said, he said, is how you feel that you send to the brain. If you feel that this is overwhelming, all those things, you send it to the brain and the hormones interpret it as stress. Everyone that want to reach out to the doctor, I will send you the details. I've already posted it. The doctor has given us the right to share our details. So you will have the details. Please let's keep coming with what we learned today. Yes, thank you. The hug. The hug. I will be mindful and I will not let my mind to be full. I have learned that for mental well-being, I must identify the stressor. It is very important. Remember, for people that are always stuck in traffic, the doctor asks you should do what you love, play the music that you love, so that you don't get too overwhelmed. Especially we are in Lagos, we understand how this thing can be. So we should find a way around these things. I will keep hugging myself. Thank you. Please, let's do that in the morning. You can now add it with a word of affirmations to yourself. It will help a lot. It will help a lot. Thank you everyone for joining this webinar. Dr. Oluwakemi, thank you. We cannot thank you enough, for since the time that we reached out to you. You were warmly and you gave us your yes from the beginning before we even sent you the official letter. We appreciate you greatly. And I also want to use this medium to also appreciate Leonard Senior Otomi Ajayi. Thank you so much for the referral. We celebrate you, ma. And to all seniors, Leonard 6 seniors that have deemed it fit to be part of this, thank you. So I will be yielding my mic to Barrister Matthew to take over from here. Doctor, please don't go yet. Let's finish this together. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you very much, I must say. I want to register on behalf of the Welfare Committee. I actually want to register our appreciation first to God for making this particular webinar a huge success. I want to also appreciate especially guest speaker that has given a very, very robust, comprehensive, and a watertight presentation. This is the first time, I must confess and admit, that I will be greeted with such a wonderful presentation on this topic. And we want to say thank you, Ma, Dr. Oluwakemi Akinyese, for this presentation and for honoring our invitation. We want to say thank you. And we want to also appreciate Able Chairman in the person of Mr. Adeni Quadri for providing the enabling atmosphere for us to host this particular webinar, for his encouragement so far. We appreciate you, sir. Able Chairman, Nigerian Bus Association, Ikeja. We want to further appreciate Mr. Yusuf Kadri, SCN, in absentia, that is the chairman of the Mental Health and Wellbeing Committee for Lawyers, who was ably represented by the Secretary of the Said Committee, Mr. David Edobo Maduku. We want to say thank you very, very much. And I must not fail to actually appreciate the able chairman of this Welfare Committee, the host of this prestigious webinar, Mrs. Folakemi Jegede, the moderator. I want to say thank you for making this possible. And for the Leonard Six and the senior members of the bar, I cited Mrs. Arume, Mrs. Omame, Aronke Omame, a very, very senior, prestigious member of the bar. And from my boss, I want to say thank you for joining us. And for everyone that has made this meeting possible, for you that have sacrificed your prestigious time on the altar of this webinar, and you would actually agree with me that it was indeed worth it. And then I want to say thank you on behalf of the Welfare Committee. Thank you, everyone. And God bless. Thank you very much. Back to you, moderator. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Barrister Matthew. I celebrate all Welfare Committee team on this platform, everyone, Barrister Dolapo, Titi, Wande, Kemi, the publicity secretary, they are the people working behind the scene. I celebrate you so much. And the whole executive team of NBA Ikeja branch, thank you so much for your support. We celebrate you greatly. NBA Ikeja branch, we are taking our health as a paramount thing in the season, and we pray that God will continue to strengthen us all. I will be inviting Barrister Susan Oyewo to give us the closing NBA prayer. Okay. Barrister Bukumi, please, can you take the closing NBA prayer? Hello. So I will be leading to pray the prayer since our people are not so close. So Almighty God, our Creator, we pray you to be with us as we go ahead and to direct our endeavors so that we shall continue in all humility to glorify thy name and do that which is right and just for our profession, its members, our fellow men, and our country, Nigeria. Amen. Thank you, everyone, and have a good weekend. Don't forget that our branch meeting is next week, Monday, and we look forward to see everyone on site. On site. Be at the meeting and let us fellowship together. Have a great weekend and bye.